Hello everyone, this is MC Squared.
And the Otaku Jock.
Before we delve in, I just want to promise to whoever is subscribed to me that I have gotten messages of when is part 3 of your Dragon Ball retrospective coming, when is part 3 coming. It is coming. I promise it is coming. In fact, others are coming. I've been working on 2 videos simultaneously, but life happened. I went to some conventions to film some episodes, and I got sick at one point. Holidays are coming up now, but I promise they will be coming. But I also take into factor that these kind of videos are a new thing for me. I said from the beginning that there would be no set schedule. This is a new process for me, so I just need to adjust and get into a real groove with those. But I promise they are in the works.
They certainly are in the works. I mean, rest assured, it's a little bit frustrating as someone who assists him on it, but I'm having my own situations right now, and a lot of this is, a lot of it, as well as us looking at new technologies, new ways of ripping the episodes and possibly getting a different format for it, and also preparing for what comes after we're done with Dragon Ball. Especially with new sets that are out now, we figure we want to give the best possible product.
Exactly, and you know, I go through a lot of work of making sure I've got every detail right on those. I got to rewatch everything, look through the manga. I've got to script it, and I've got to film them and edit them. And you know, people could argue, oh, that's easy. It's not as easy as you would think, unless you really, especially for a beginner. But they are coming, I promise you. There's going to be loads of laughs in them. And also, we've been preparing a sub-series. We don't want to say what it is, but it could be good. It won't quite be as extensive as the Dragon Ball one, but it should be interesting. I think people will like that if we can get it off the ground. So to those of you who have subscribed to both my channels, thank you so much. I want to thank Linkara for reblogging them and getting me some notice. Thank you, spread the word, and let's move on.
Let's move on. Let's move on to the real topic at hand.
Yes, 2 highly anticipated trailers were released the past week. First being Jurassic World, the long development held 4th installment of Jurassic Park. And
the other one, of course, being the one that we have been waiting for ever since the announcement 2 years ago.
Pan! No, Star Wars The Force Awakens.
You really did that? I cannot believe you did that!
But Star Wars The Force Awakens. Yes, I'm mixed about it so far, as I have been since the Disney buyout, but, you know, it's looking promising. I am, of course, dismayed at the loss of the expanded universe, now falling into the non-canonical or maybe semi-canonical Legends banner. I do wish some of the pre-Return of the Jedi stuff, like Knights of the Old Republic or Darth Plagueis and stuff like that, could one day be brought back into the canon, as long as they don't interfere with the new films. But for now,
just gotta wait and see on this one, and I completely understand why they are doing it. It's there was so much expanded universe stuff. I think that it is as frustrating as I'm sure it is for you, the fact that everything right now seems to be put under the Legends category. I still say
stuff that was only out for like a year, like Kenobi, put under Legends.
I still think that we can just take a breath and just wonder about it, and of course there's always, you know, there's always the wonderful world of headcanons. So, you know, if nothing else, you can always say, you know what, you can try and convince me otherwise. I believe that that's exactly what happened. But let's get back to the trailer at hand here. This is definitely something that we have been hotly anticipating, and we knew that once we heard the announcement of not only the title, but that principal photography of that movie was completed, we knew right away that a teaser trailer had to have been not that far away from being released online. I think initially they said it was going to be released in theaters, but I mean, I seriously don't think that was
in this day of YouTube.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, and it's no surprise. It's no surprise that we're looking at various uploads of it, reaching up into millions upon millions upon millions of views for what was really, you know, a teaser in every sense of the word. Because honestly, there's not a lot to go on right now.
Basically, I think it's showing us our main characters.
That's probably true because, you know, you have that opening shot with John Boyega in the desert, what looks like Tatooine, in the stormtrooper garb. You just, I'll be honest and say when I initially saw that for the first time, just like, wait a minute, is that a fan film?
It looked like a fan film initially, but you know, it's something we had never seen before. Once it got to that little soccer ball droid, it suddenly felt like, all right, new Star Wars. It was the same exact vibe I got when I first saw the Phantom Menace trailer on the local news all those years ago.
The one thing that I have heard complaints about were the constant fades to black on that.
That's just how trailers are done now, and it adds to the tease.
It adds to the tease, and again, if this was going to be anything more than just a main teaser, we would have had it longer than 90 seconds, essentially.
Right.
We're going to get probably an official trailer probably sometime early next year. I would be more than willing to put money on getting a full official... Yeah, don't hold me too bad. Jeez, you're tromping all over me. But no, I mean, in the figurative sense, I would put money on an official trailer for Star Wars: The Force Awakens being released. I would say at the very latest, the end of February, and that may be an overestimation as far as I'm concerned.
I'd say maybe March.
Yeah, I mean, you get this hype train going. I mean, there's going to be no stopping it. The hype train is already in motion, my friend.
Come and ride it.
Yeah, we got 1 year away to wait for this. For goodness sakes.
But yeah, let's start with Jurassic World, for starters. Now, that has been in development hell for a number of years now because there are so many possibilities opened by the lackluster Jurassic Park 3 because, first of all, they had the scene talking about the Spinosaurus and saying, I don't remember that being on the list. That wasn't on their list. What else were they doing? Then there was the matter of pteranodons getting off the island. Well, that's a load of possibilities. But what I had always felt should have been a fourth installment was really deal with dinosaurs getting off the island to the mainland. Now, we got that in the Lost World with the T-Rex, but, you know, I'm talking about, you know, this was a whole subplot in the books, was they were spotting dinosaurs, compsognathids, pro-compsognathids, in Costa Rica, and there was like a carcass of another animal that was found that was incinerated, and that was one of the issues of, because they were, unlike the movie, which had two problems, the power going out thanks to Newman, and breeding. But the book had a third element, which was dinosaurs getting off the island. So that I would have liked to see. Obviously, that's not going to be the case, because we are now turning Jurassic Park into SeaWorld, Jurassic World, which is an interesting concept. I've heard it described in an article I read somewhere, I don't remember where it was calling it the Jason Lives of Jurassic Park, where the camp was actually open to campers. That's interesting. I like that. What I'm not too particularly crazy are the two long-rumored elements that have now, I guess, pretty much been confirmed by the trailer. Trained raptors and a mutant dinosaur.
See, I'm not as broken up about the mutant dinosaur as you are, because honestly, I feel as though it's one of those cases, because it's one of those cases that that we are in this position with the movie and the scientists that are in the movie that are basically like saying, okay, where else can we go with this? We got to go somewhere else with this, or else we're going to be finding ourselves out of a job. What can we possibly do? Oh, I know what we can do. We can try splicing DNA strands of two separate dinosaurs together and seeing what works with that, and seeing what else that opens up. I mean, because I think at the end of the day, it's a lot of genomics in everything. But I do sort of understand where you're coming from, because it's exactly, you know, I mean, it's frustrating to think that, you know, we have to now just deal with a hybrid rather than just another predator.
Yeah,
not a movie predator, mind you. I'm talking about a dinosaur here.
Right.
Insert the predator clip.
Yeah. My thing with the mutant dinosaur is, well, to be fair, they are pretty much mutant dinosaurs to begin with, because they spliced in amphibian DNA in order to fill in the gene sequences, and that's where you had the whole breeding problem in the first film and the book. So to be fair, there is that. But I think what makes Jurassic Park so intriguing, especially from the beginning, what made that film, that story, so intriguing is that these weren't treated as monsters. They were animals that were in an unfamiliar environment. Environment.
Good use of the English language there, dude.
Derp. But yeah, it was. Let me gather my thoughts. But taking two dinosaurs and mixing them together just because, I mean, that's not a dinosaur. That's a monster that you made in a lab. I mean, for example, Jack Horner has this theory of hatching a dinosaur from a chicken egg by nudging the DNA in the right direction. That's not a dinosaur. That's a mutated chicken. Call it something else.
Well, I mean, I guess I see what you're talking about, but I am at the very least willing to give them the benefit of the doubt and see how it's worked into the script, how it's handled. Because I think that that's the one thing that we don't know, at least from this stage, is how are they going to handle that.
Yeah.
I mean, if they can put a good spin on it in the context of the movie, I don't think that it could be as potentially damaging as you think it is going to be.
All I can say is if it turns out that it's a dinosaur spliced with man, I'm going to facepalm epically.
I don't think... looking at what we saw in the trailer, I don't see that.
And trained raptors, that's jarring because it sort of cheats what the raptors are characterized in this franchise. Highly intelligent, yes, possibly smarter than man in this fictional... They're after me. In this fictional dinosaur universe. But they're also portrayed as cunning and fierce. They want to kill. They want to hunt. And how do you train that? I mean, it's
a lot of time and a lot of effort. That's why they needed Star-Lord in order to do that. See, I don't have a problem with that because, again, I'm waiting to see how that's explained in the movie. And look, you've already got Chris Pratt in there as the main male character, who's looking like that he's a leader amongst men, and of course, you know, he's believable in that role, thanks to his appearance in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Would you really call Star-Lord much of a leader?
Well, they're more of a. I guess you could call the Guardians maybe more of a collective than an actual team with a leader.
Definitely.
But
they're like the Ghostbusters.
Yeah, I think that's a better way to. What would you call those guys in it? The Kree-busters, maybe? I'm just spitballing here.
Right.
Moving on.
Moving on to the topic at hand, Star Wars.
Yes.
Now, when the title was first announced, Star Wars The Force Awakens, the first thing that came to my mind was, where's the episode title? Which, apparently, they are trying to get it. Word has it that the episode title will be there in the opening crawl.
Which I don't think that that's an issue whatsoever.
Yeah, if that's there, I'll be fine.
I think that what they're doing with this episode, with not including the episode, at least in the advertising,
right?
Which I think it's a conscious decision to basically move from how the prequels were marketed. Now consider the fact right here. Really, this whole naming scheme with the episode numbers, that is more a product of the prequel trilogy.
Because they were really hyping up that this is the beginning.
Exactly. And you go back all the way, even when you had the special editions of episodes 4, 5, and 6 come out.
They marketed them as Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi. So it seems like this generation is the subtitle generation.
Well, again, I don't have a problem with that, and I guarantee you that there's going to be enough people out there that are just going to refer to it as The Force Awakens.
Right.
And on the topic of that, I actually really love the title The Force Awakens, because it's not only just indicative of the fact that, this is the next chapter, it's also just a great teaser of what is going on possibly in the story, because, again, you have the 30-year gap in the story between the end of Return of the Jedi, where they defeat the Empire, and what you're going to see in this movie.
Yeah, the Empire's gone. Why are there still stormtroopers? That's what I want to know.
Well, they consider the fact that you say that the Empire is gone. That could be something that they keep over from the expanded universe, the Imperial Remnant.
Yes.
So I think that that's honestly something that, because really you have to have not just the protagonist. You can't just have a movie just based on the protagonist, because that was one of the real good things about the expanded universe, is that they never rested on that. They always kept someone from the Imperials basically trying to fight the fight, saying that look, we can rise again. We can rise again in the glory of Palpatine.
And in fact, this thought just occurred to me, the little bit with the Sith Lord in the trailer. What if that's the Inquisitor from Star Wars Rebels?
Oh, I don't know about that. That's, it would be an interesting twist, but
that certainly would.
But then you're basically talking about, that's what, a good 35 years from when Rebels takes place?
Yeah.
I don't know.
We know they have a story group, so...
True. I'm just wondering about that. Again, I know you're just spitballing and throwing out wild...
That's a theory.
So, I'm willing to at least take all theories on this, and of course, we've already got the Inquisitor with his own, weird lightsaber, as it is.
Right.
The double-sided, basically spinner blades.
Yeah,
which, I guess is the next logical step of evolution from Darth Maul's double-sided blade.
Right, and I can't believe people are criticizing so hard, not just this, but virtually every shot in the trailer.
What do you expect at this stage? All right, we've been so conditioned to basically hate on everything that's been done with Star Wars ever since The Phantom Menace came out, because these people don't know what they really want.
Allow Ben Affleck to sum it up, please.
The internet is a communications tool used the world over where people can come together to bitch about movies and share pornography with one another. This is a site populated by militant movie buffs, sad, pathetic little bastards living in their parents' basement, downloading scripts and what they think is inside information about movies and actors they claim to despise yet can't stop discussing.
Thanks, Ben. Thanks, Batman.
Yeah, still waiting to see. I'm still waiting to see how he fills the cowl, but that remains to be seen.
But yeah, going back to the lightsaber, I can't believe that people are criticizing this because, what are these little lights on? That'll just risk cutting your hand off. A lightsaber risks cutting your hand off.
Think about it.
A double-bladed light. It's there to prevent other blades from hitting you like a regular broadsword.
Look at the sword that Link carries in the Legend of Zelda games, and then look at the lightsaber that's in this trailer, and the design makes a little more sense than I think that you give it. Granted, I was a little confused when I saw the saber myself, but then looking at it again when I saw the trailer again today, I'm just like, yeah, that makes sense. That's perfect. And seeing another picture that you shared with me from Facebook that basically said, this prevents this.
Yes. That was on Twitter, actually, that I saw that. But it makes it look sinister. And people...
the red blade, just again, just that iconic look from Star Wars. You just see that red blade pop out.
And it's a different kind of blade. It looks more plasma-like.
Yeah, if you just watch it, and then you're just like, oh boy, yeah, this is definitely new.
Yeah. And people have argued, you know, even if that's supposed to protect you, you'll still risk cutting your hand off. Not if you're trained. Not if you are ridiculously trained, like a Darth Maul or something. And for another thing, it's a movie. None of this is real.
Can we please run the Mystery Science Theater 3000 song?
You're wondering how he eats and breathes and other science facts. Then repeat to yourself, it's just the show. I should really just relax.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, this is again another reason why it's so tough to be a Star Wars fan.
I know. None of this is real. I mean, you might as well be complaining about the little soccer droid where it's like, how does that even work? Where are the mechanics? Is it in the dome? How is it connected to the ball that it's able to roll in all these angles? I don't know. It's a movie!
Let's just wait and see, for goodness sakes. We've got a full year before this movie comes out. Can we please have a little bit of optimism that J.J. Abrams is going to do this right by us? I mean, okay, say what you want about his work on the Star Trek movies. I personally really liked them, and I figured that...
So did I. I know a Trekkie who went to those movies multiple times in costume, in a Starfleet uniform to those movies, and she loved them!
I mean, for heaven's sakes, folks, okay, say what you want about, you know, Into Darkness. Say what you want about the decisions that were made about how they rebooted the franchise. It was necessary for Star Trek to go through a reboot. I hate to burst everyone's bubble who think that, oh, you know, it should just continued on the story. Folks, you know...
It's against Gene Roddenberry's vision. Blah, 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 blah. Gene Roddenberry is also all about marketing to people.
Okay, let's just consider this about Star Trek, folks. All right, I personally think that the idea to have those movies branch off into its own continuity is, I think, one of the best things that could have possibly been done for the franchise, because it needed a fresh coat of paint and it needed a better start.
However, I will say that if the Force Awakens ends up rebooting a timeline, then I'm probably going to be upset.
Well, I don't think that we're going to get that. I mean, they're already giving us assurances this takes 30 years after Return of the Jedi. And honestly, I do not see J.J. Abrams going back and doing what he did with Star Trek to Star Wars.
And I don't see an overabundance of lens flares, quite frankly. There was a slight lens flare in that Millennium shot, the Falcon shot, but
nearly as in your face as it was in the first Star Trek.
Exactly. And I'm sick and tired already of all it's only been out for a few days now, and already people have done these mashups of George Lucas's version of the trailer or the special edition version of the trailer.
Okay, stop. Okay, first off, folks, stop for a moment. I mean, look, we've ranted on the topic of George Lucas on this channel several times, going back to the very first video that we ever did before the Blu-ray sets came out. The very first movie that we did, we basically laid out our feelings. Look, I don't care what you think about George Lucas. All right, you can love him, you can hate him, whatever. But doggone it, that man at the very least deserves the respect of every single movie-going individual who goes to see a movie like Star Wars, like Star Trek, like the Avengers, like Captain America, Iron Man, Pacific Rim, Guardians of the Galaxy. Should I go on?
Lifetime Achievement Award.
Everything that we hold when it comes to modern movies, for better or for worse, is thanks to George's ambition back in the 70s to take his idea, put it to film, basically making it the most successful independent movie franchise in history. Remember that, even though you see that 20th Century Fox logo at the beginning of the first 6 Star Wars movies, This was all thanks to Lucas and his company putting their best foot forward. They were the ones who set this whole thing on its merry way.
And before anybody says, no, Gary Kurtz knew how to hold him back, where has Gary Kurtz been in the movie business lately? I mean, yeah, he did The Dark Crystal. Okay, sure. Word has it that Jim Henson wanted him kicked off the film. I don't know where I heard that, but...
Yeah, you know what? You always hear stories like that when it comes to movies like that.
Return to Oz. Okay, fair enough. But that movie wouldn't have been finished without the input of George Lucas, who looked at the film and said to the studio, let this man finish this movie.
Seriously, folks, you have to at least give George...
And what has Gary Kurtz done since then?
I mean, look, my whole opinion when it comes to George Lucas is that I feel as though, and I said this in the very first video, you can probably go back and find it if you're willing to sit through that 3-part video. I said in that video that I don't think that there has been a filmmaker that has been as praised for his franchise and as maligned for the work that he has done for this franchise. To me, and okay, and I know that there are some people out there that make fun of George, but you know something? When I listen to Rebel Force Radio, the podcast with Jason Swank and Jimmy Mack, and I hear them do their Lucas impersonations, kind of like that. I don't know if I'm all that accurate when it comes to that.
That's actually not bad there.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, it's coming out of a place of just plain respect. And that's one of the reasons why, look, the fan reaction, or the fan, I don't know if I can find a good word, just the fan wank when it comes to taking down George Lucas and the prequel films was one of the reasons that I have never delved really deep into online Star Wars communities, even though I purport to be a pretty damn big Star Wars fan.
And we're not being sycophants here. You look at when those prequels first came out, the reviews were high from movie critics. Roger Ebert loved it. Time Magazine and USA Today call Episode 3, probably like best in the series, better than the original film. And then 10 years later, everybody gets collective amnesia.
I mean, look, seriously, do yourself a favor. Actually try and go back and watch those movies, all right? And I'm going to be one of those people that sticks up for Episode 1 no matter what, because
it's not the best in the series.
No, far from it. I fully admit that, even being a fan of the prequels as I am. But you know something? That's the movie that I first saw in the theaters as a new Star Wars film all the way back in 1999. I got to go see the special editions in theaters, but I'll tell you one thing, there was nothing like going to see a brand new Star Wars film for the very first time, and I just remember just sitting in that theater in 1999, watching it and being just like, this is one of the best experiences that I have ever had. And that's, I think, what is missed by so many people who love to trash trash that movie. And I'm looking at you in particular, Red Letter Media. There, I called him out. Yeah. I don't care. If you got your fanboy army, you want to come after me, be my guest. Come at me, bro. You have done nothing more than stick a big wedge in Star Wars fandom, thanks to those terrible, and I'm calling it like that, your terrible Star Wars Episode 1 review.
And
I said
all three.
Well, yeah, but that one in particular, I'm saying it right there. You want to come after me? You want to have me on? You want to try to convince me otherwise? I'm sorry, Buster. I'm not budging from that. You have done nothing but divide people. And that's honestly the worst thing about those reviews. They have divided Star Wars fandom to the point that it's exactly what I said a moment ago. I cannot get into communities of Star Wars fans because it is so divided. And I am afraid, because of something that I am going to say in defense of one of those movies that I really do love, even though I know that there are some problems with it. Oh, and that's reiterating that fact. I just don't understand why you have to feel the need to basically say, hey, that's, I mean, okay, you have your own opinion of the movie. That's fine. I don't care. Right? Love the movie or hate it. You know what? That's fine. If you don't like the prequel trilogy, I won't freaking, you know, turn my back on you and say that you're a terrible human being. But if you make me feel bad about being a prequel fan, I mean, we're gonna have some problems. I mean, I know Simon Pegg kind of has that opinion of the prequels, but I'm willing to let him have it because number one, I think he's a funny individual. Number two, I think for representing mainstream geeks, I guess, if you want, of Hollywood. I mean, you can say what you want, but I still...
I'd say Kevin Smith more represents mainstream geeks.
That
and even he's never that harsh.
No, and even then, even when you bring up Kevin Smith, even he has said on repeated occasions that Revenge of the Sith basically redeemed the entire prequel trilogy. And I am
even James Rolfe said it redeemed the prequel trilogy. He didn't like episode 1. He thought episode 2 was okay. He thought episode 3 was a knockout.
I mean, seriously, folks. Go back and watch episode 3. Try not to cast any dispersions on it. Forgive some of the bad acting that's in that movie. And what do you get? You get yourself arguably one of the best films that has ever come out, honestly. I mean, you could make the argument that it's better than the original. I mean, I'm not going to make that argument because, you know, you're talking about two movies at different times. But at the same time, you're also talking about a movie that was basically trying to wrap everything up and set everything up towards what we see in the original trilogy. And I think for the job that it was supposed to do, it probably did its job better than anything. And of course now we got Star Wars Rebels on Disney XD right now, which tries to fill in that 20-year gap between episode 3 and episode 4. By the way, very good show. I gotta give the credit to the people working on that, and not the least of which is Mr. Dave Filoni, the head man on job. You, sir, you are a brilliant, brilliant individual, and I'm happy that we got a man like you making Star Wars stuff for us to watch.
Definitely. I also want to point out to all the detractors like Red Letter Media, Mike Stacklasa, and Simon Pegg, and all these, you know, self-entitled jerks, you know, calling bull on the prequels and stuff. You know, Betsy Palmer, best known for playing Pamela Voorhees in Friday the 13th, once said, those who can do, those who can't criticize. Yeah.
That's a good way to put about it. I mean, look, if you've got some kind of, if you have some kind of personal grudge or vendetta against George Lucas, and you honestly do have that, I mean, whatever. You know, we're not going to change your mind, and we don't intend to try to change your mind, but what we're doing here is just voicing our opinions. Think about this, people. In a year, there's going to be a new Star Wars film. That is something that after I walked out of Revenge of the Sith in 2005, I thought I would never see again. I thought I would never see another new Star Wars movie in my lifetime. I thought that as far as I was concerned, the franchise was done. 2 years ago, I was proven wrong, and I'm so happy I was proven wrong, and I cannot wait for December 2015 when that movie comes out.
And even if the movie is fantastic, you know that there are going to be armies of whiners complaining that J.J. Abrams ruined Star Wars like George Lucas before him. No one gets Star Wars but me.
See, that's where we come from. That's where we have our biggest disagreements with these people, is the fact that they are entitled. They feel entitled. They feel selfish. They feel basically that Star Wars is theirs and theirs alone, not realizing that, hey, wait a minute. Who is the man who put this whole thing into motion? Okay, you can make the argument. You can make the argument that you, of course, got the design work of Ralph McQuarrie, the director's jobs by Irwin Kershner, and who directed Return of the Jedi?
Richard Marquand.
Richard Marquand. You could make those arguments, but folks, it's still George's idea at the beginning of the day.
Do you know what an auteur is? An auteur is a director writer, blah blah blah.
He does everything.
Full
Complete control.
Like it's Citizen Kane and Alfred Hitchcock films. That's what Lucas was to these films.
I mean, okay, it was directed by different people in episodes 4 and episodes 5 and 6. But it was
he still told them what to do.
Exactly, and it's just like, you know, look, it's just like you get told something by George Lucas. Are you gonna say no to this guy? Are you gonna say no to this guy who took basically that took basically what was like a $3 million film and turned that into a multi-billion-dollar franchise with toys, video games, comic books, and all sorts of merchandise?
I mean, and people criticize him for that. It just screams of success jealousy. I once got into an argument with someone who. He said he's not a very good philanthropist. All that money that he made from the Disney buyout was
$4 billion.
$4 billion was donated to charity, and he was like, but he's still richer than Scrooge McDuck. He's not. He should give all his money away and live like us. That is success jealousy in a nutshell.
You want to know
how dare he be successful in life?
You want to know who else is actually a surprising philanthropist of a guy who was vilified for the longest time? Bill Gates.
Bill Gates, yeah.
I mean, you go seriously, look at some of the charity work that Bill Gates has done ever since he has stopped being basically the head man at Microsoft. And you'll wonder why on earth people considered him the spawn of Satan for a long period of the late 90s and early 2000s. But it just I think, boy, did we get off on a tangent here.
Yeah, we didn't want to go this long.
No, but you know what? You get us going on this topic. I think that it's something that, you know, we're passionate about this because we love this. We're excited. We cannot wait for the new Star Wars film. It's like we got a 1 year to make it from here until then to see it. I mean, it's just like what it was in 1999. You watch the movie Fanboys. Just that
is great.
That pure excitement that those guys had in that movie. That's the pure excitement that's coming through us right now, and we couldn't be more excited of the prospect of a new trilogy of Star Wars films, the side story films, and more stuff from animated series like what we have with Rebels right now. If that continues to be successful, maybe more in the future. And possibly, and of course, you know, and something I'm certainly excited about, I don't know if you, I remember sharing this with you, I don't know if you saw it, but an article that I found that there is a possibility that perhaps Episode 2 and Episode 3 will get their 3D re-releases after Episode 7 comes out. Which, again, it makes a lot of sense as to why they
I have to wonder if this is going to be in 3D.
You have to wonder about that. I don't know if they're going to do that right away. I think that JJ was clear that he didn't want 3D for the movie initially.
He's shooting on film, isn't he?
He's 35 millimeter.
Yeah, that's right.
So I think that there is I think that there is going to be something to be said about that. I am certainly looking forward to this. This is a great time to be a Star Wars fan. It's a great time to be a movie fan. I mean, you look at everything that's coming down the pike in 2015. I mean, there's not just Star Wars and Jurassic World. There's Avengers, Age of Ultron. There's the Ant-Man movie. There's, you know, the Charlie Brown movie that's coming that looks terrific already. There's so much stuff that's coming down the pipeline right now. There's just no reason not to be excited and not try to at least, you know, extend an olive branch to maybe some people in this fandom to basically say, look, let's put our differences aside from us. Let's get united here, for goodness sakes. I mean, I just plead for that. I want a united fandom. I don't want divisiveness and bitterness by some fans that basically, you know, is an affront to everything that we have been experienced in the years following the prequel trilogy. It just feels as though that all that we have when it comes to the prequel trilogy is nothing but detractors online. I mean, that's why it was such a breath of fresh air when the Nostalgia Critic did his top 11 list of good things in the prequel trilogy.
And he even included Hayden Christensen. Who would have thunk?
Yeah! I mean, you want to talk about a jaw-dropping inclusion.
I know!
When we first saw that, we seriously were just like, what? Really now?
I mean, people forget that acting isn't all about delivering dialogue. It's not all
body language.
Body language. It's expression. You gotta become the character.
And seriously, go back and again.
You look at Hayden Christensen when he's being evil, and he looks like he's psychotic, like he is gonna mess you up.
He looks like he's Vader without the costume.
He does.
I mean, that's, I think, what so many people neglect when it comes to their criticisms of Episode 3 is that, you know, Hayden Christensen completely loses himself in that role. I mean, okay, maybe his delivery isn't all that good, but his body language, his expressions, his facial reactions in certain scenes, especially in that scene in the Emperor's room when he sends Mace Windu out the window.
And you know, one good, you know, little touch of his was, you know, he's talking with Padme about, you know, I forget what the conversation was, but he points at her with his gloved finger and says, "Don't ask me to do that." That is such a Vader gesture. That was so David Prowse right there.
I mean, it's just, seriously, do yourself a favor, if you're going to go back and watch the Star Wars movies before Episode 7 comes out, just please, just do yourself a favor. Try watching the prequel trilogy with a different perspective, with another point of view. Just
a certain point of view.
Thank you. I was trying to avoid using the exact line, but it seriously is. It's an exciting time. Let's get united. Let's start being a fandom for everyone, not just the hardcore fans who saw this movie for the first time in 1977. Let's include the people like myself who didn't see Star Wars and who didn't see a Star Wars film in the theaters until the special editions and the prequel trilogy. There are people like me that say that, you know, that it's just, we just have to be a better fandom, and I think that's one of my biggest sticking points. We want to be a better fandom right here. We want to talk to people. I mean, if you've got your own opinions on the prequel trilogy, I don't have a problem with that. As I've said before, it's just that if you're going to have your opinions on the prequel trilogy, be mindful that there are people out there that honestly love these movies and don't disparage them.
Yeah, don't call them idiots just because they like something you don't.
I mean, oh man, what's a movie that's come out recently that I did not like?
What was it?
Oh, I'm
Avatar. I mean, Last Airbender. I mean,
well, nah, I don't think that was that. Just because you know we both really hated that movie.
Was,
you know, maybe a better example is maybe Man of Steel.
Man, I did not care for that.
You did not like that. I recognize its shortcomings, but I definitely enjoyed it. But I know
I enjoyed parts of it.
It's definitely a divisive movie, and that's a movie that you know, you actually sit down and watch it, that you would expect it to be a divisive movie. Not something like this. Not something like Star Wars, folks. You know, Star Wars is something special. And I think that's why there is such passion surrounding it. And I think that's what makes it such a unique fan base. But the same thing that makes it such a unique fan base is also something that makes it a very polarizing fan base. Probably not as bad as the Star Trek fan base, but it's pretty bad.
But yeah, we got off on a real tangent. We were supposed to be discussing the trailer itself, weren't we?
I know, we were. Maybe we can cut this out and package it as its own thing.
Let's try to be real quick with addressing the trailer. First of all, John, what's his name?
John Boyega.
John Boyega. Yeah, the amount of racism I have seen in guards.
It's
I mean,
the
it's like they didn't even know that there was a black guy in the cast.
It's
I mean,
the internet at this point. It's just like I hate to throw up my hands and just say that. Oh God, it's the internet at this stage. But honestly, you know what? When you look at certain
and you know what he addressed to this whole thing.
What
he like he posted like on Instagram or Reddit or something. I get them mixed up. To those who may concern, get used to it.
You know what? Great attitude to have. I don't have a problem with that whatsoever. Okay, but moving on.
And people have said, well, stormtroopers aren't supposed to be black. They're clones of Jango Fett. No, they're not.
No, they're not. You know,
if they were clones of Jango Fett, George Lucas, with the 2004 DVD set, would have had Temuera Morrison dub them all over like he did Boba Fett.
Seriously, that whole theory is shot to hell because of Rebels. And before anyone asks about that, yes, Rebels is canon. Rebels is canon, folks. You know, get used to it, to borrow another phrase. But now, moving on from that, you know, you had the soccer ball droid.
The soccer ball, which I like. I like that. That was a droid.
And you know, that's just another, that could be another iconic Star Wars droid design like we've seen with C-3PO and R2.
And we don't even know if he looks like that all the time. That could be a transformation that he does for sand travel.
There you go. kind of like how R2 has that extra leg.
The extra leg, or the controversial thrusters.
Yeah, the thrusters. We've already opened up. We've already opened up enough.
That's a cute droid, and I look forward to seeing more of it. I'm pretty sure it's going to be part of the group, much like R2 or Chopper on Rebels.
And then, of course, you get Daisy Ridley on this transport.
She reminds me of Padme.
She does have a bit of a look of
she looks like Padme if she was off doing the kind of stuff that Leia was doing in the original trilogy.
There you go. And I actually am looking forward to seeing what kind of role that she's going to play.
Honestly,
you do have to wonder if that is going to be, you know, what they have rumored her to possibly be, and again, it's still at this stage of rumor because we don't know character names or anything.
Right.
We don't know if she's supposed to be Jaina Solo.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if she's Jaina Solo, that is going to shock and surprise me.
I mean, you go back to that very first picture that was shown on the first day with all the actors sitting around.
Right.
Daisy Ridley was near Carrie Fisher and Harrison Ford, so that rumor has been going pretty much since the very beginning when she was announced to be a part of this cast.
Yeah.
So I personally do think that there's a lot to like in that, and you know, she looks like that she's nice and confident on a transport like that. Yep. On what looks like some kind of a speeder, as we welcome a third addition to
keep going.
That. And then, of course, you have the scene with I couldn't tell who that was, unfortunately, in the X-wing.
In the X-wing,
but
yeah.
Come on, that was awesome.
That was a Star Wars moment.
Oh my gosh, God! 3 X-wings just flying, maybe inches above water.
We've never seen that before.
Incredible. That is so cool to see.
Where are they going, I wonder?
Where are they going? Are they on...
Is he the new Wedge?
Maybe, who knows? But you know, that was so cool, and I really hope that we get some really cool dogfighting scenes like what we've come accustomed to in the Star Wars universe. As things go on.
And of course we've got new stormtroopers. We still don't know what this new enemy is. Imperial Remnant or something else. Don't know.
It's got to be some form of an Imperial Remnant. Or
Imperial Splinter.
Or, I'm just entertaining a fact right here.
Entertaining a fact?
Entertaining a possibility, I should say. What is with me? I gotta apologize for myself, folks. I've had a pretty long couple of days. But entertaining a possibility, here's a wild and crazy theory. What if the Empire regained power? Just putting that out there.
Sketchy, but...
It's sketchy, but you know, it's a theory that you can't really throw away at this point. Because, honestly, again, we know so little about this movie that's coming out. Pretty much all options are on the table. But moving on from that,
we've got Mysterious Sith Lord.
Yeah, Mysterious Sith Lord.
Discussed that already.
With the lightsaber and just a really cool look to it. And I honestly really like the design of it. And I'm sure, I mean, again, as I saw it the second time, I'm just like, yeah, that's a logical progression.
It looks mean.
It looks mean, yeah, absolutely.
And of course, the Millennium Falcon. Now, one thing I've noticed about this Millennium Falcon is that the dish is different. Which makes sense because the dish was knocked off by Lando when escaping the Death Star when it was about to explode.
In Return of the Jedi.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's actually something that may seem like a small detail, but the fact that J.J. Abrams took that into account and put a new dish on the Millennium Falcon, I have to say that that's promising.
Yeah.
I have to say that that's definitely promising going forward to see if we get more decent enough callbacks to the original trilogy there. Mm-hmm. Overall, though, just looking at that, I mean, that scene, that was cool. The camera work, nothing like we've seen in a Star Wars movie before then for a scene like that. And I'm looking forward to seeing what Abrams and his staff does with sequences like that in these movies. Mm-hmm. I mean, just overall, though, again, it's a teaser. Excuse me.
In every sense of the word.
In every sense of the word. We don't know much of anything else. All that we really need to know now is that we just need to sit back and wait now for the next year. And I'm sure as the year progresses, we're going to get little story bits that are going to be tossed our way. And I guarantee you we're going to get a theatrical trailer probably sometime in the next couple of months. Mm-hmm. Because the further along they get in post-production of this movie, the more that we're going to see of it. And this is my personal thing. I'm going to see the trailer, I'm going to watch the trailer, and I'm going to try to recuse myself from watching any other clips of that movie until it comes out.
What about TV spots?
Okay.
What about news coverage?
Look, I'm trying to limit the spoilers the best I can. That's the basic. That's the basic.
I was different with the prequels. I got a hold of comic books and novelizations and all that stuff before the movies came out. So
yeah, I mean, I'm honestly not that. I honestly don't want to do that. I want to watch this movie and have that be essentially the groundwork, and then I do everything else, and that helps build the universe around it. Because honestly, if you take those movies if you take the prequel trilogy as basically the foundation, and then you take a look at some of the other side stories that are a part of it in comic books and the novelizations, maybe you get a better appreciation with how those movies were made. Mm-hmm. Just a thought.
But yeah, we're sorry for the length of this video. We went off on a long tangent that we didn't mean to be there, but we've gotten everything off our chest. Please like and subscribe to support us if you agree with us. Help get the word out for the Dragon Ball retrospectives.
And certainly, if you want to talk to us about, your opinions on the Star Wars movies,
please be civil.
Be civil. Be compassionate. Understand that different opinions doesn't mean that you're gonna hate another person. It's just that I like something that you don't. You don't need to drag me down on this. So let's just start enjoying this. The hype train is arriving in the station. Let's get on board. Let's enjoy this next year. This is a big year for Star Wars, and it's going to culminate next Christmas. I cannot wait.
This is MC Squared.
And the Otaku Jock.
May the Force be with you.